Hello everyone, welcome to Meanlife Studies. In this video, we are going to start a new series, that is Python Data Engineer Interview Question Series. In this series, we are going to solve so many problems. Along with, we are going to discuss different conceptual questions, those were asked in recent data engineering interviews. You can see here the first question, what is a module in Python? And explain it by writing a code. So we should not answer orally. I mean, interviews won't expect to answer orally. So they will be expecting our data engineer to write a code, right? So now first we have to define what is a module, and then we have to write a code by ensuring that that particular code will start working as module. Okay, let's see how we are going to do this in Jupyter Notebook. Okay, you can see here I'm currently using a Jupyter Notebook. You can also use any other IDEs you want. Either it could be PyCharm, Spider, or VS Code, or any other. Okay, but as a data engineer, we more preferably using a Jupyter kind of notebook or any IDEs. So that's why I'm just using Jupyter Notebook. So let's see, first we have to define what is a module. So now, first you need to understand what is a module. So module in Python is nothing but just a Python file that consists of different variables or functions or even classes, so that we can use them in another modules by using import command. So now you are going to create whatever you want in a particular Python file, and you are going to access all of these in another module, or we can also call it as another Python file by using importing. By importing all this, we are going to access all these functionalities, all variables in another Python file. Okay, let's see here how we can do that. So now we are using in Jupyter Notebook, right? So now if you are using any other like another IDEs like PyCharm, Spider, you'll be getting all in .py extension files, right? But this is not a .py extension. This is a IPYNB extension, right? So these are interactive Python notebooks. So those are Python files. So where if you are working in VS Code or PyCharm or Spider, you'll be creating directly .py files, I mean Python files. But here it's a IPYNB notebook format. Therefore, you need to create a module like with help of, I mean, different commands are there. I'm going to discuss them. You have to create a Python file, and then we are going to ensure that that Python file will start working as module when you are importing all of them in another Python file. Okay. First, let's see here how we can create a module. So now, if you observe, so this is a home directory where in this home directory, if you observe, these are notebooks like untitled.py&b. You can see here. So these are the different extensions like IPYNB, Interactive Python Notebook extensions. So these all notebook like Jupyter notebooks. Okay. But now we are going to create a file that is a Python file. Okay. So let's see how we can create that. So we have different magic commands are there by using a double percentage symbol, write file. So you have to define it. So what is the file you want to have? Okay. I'm just creating one.py. Okay. So now you can see here, we are trying to create it. But if you observe, this like write file is cell is magic. Okay, is a cell magic, but the cell body is empty. So we have to create something. So we are going to define different variables, different. Now you can see here, even if you go and refresh here, let's see here. So it's not even created anything. So until unless if you are mentioning something, let's see here. Now I'm going to define a equal to 10. Okay. Now you can see here writing one.py. Right. So now if you go and check here, you can see now the Python file we created. Right. So now when you are creating a Python file, you need to ensure that there should be a code in that particular Python file. Okay. So now you can see I'm just creating, defining a variable that is a equal to 10. You can also mention anything you want. I'm just using name equal to Mahendra, age equal to something. Next, whatever you want, you can define it. So these are variables, right? So variables we are going to define in this particular file. Next, we are going to define functions also, no problem. Function 1. Okay, or else you can see any name you want, you can define it. Okay, I'm just using x. So now return x squared. Okay, next I'm going to define one more, that is g of y. I'm returning y into 7. Okay, so these are the two functions we created. So even if you want to create classes also, you can create. Okay, for now I'm just creating only functions and variables. Okay, so now you can see the file is overwritten. All right, so now if you go and check this one, now I'm just entering into one file. You can see here one.py file. Now you can see here the same code that we have written, right? So define the name and age, and we have defined two functions. Okay, this is the one.py file. Now if you observe, so how we can execute this one? So in another Jupyter, I mean other than Jupyter Notebook, you can use directly like execution button. So therefore there you'll be having only Python file, and then it will be executed if you directly enter into execute button. But here it won't happen, right? So we just created a Python file in IPYNB notebook format. So now how we can execute this one? By using exclamatory symbol that ensure that you are working in shell, right? So you have to ensure Python. So whatever the file that you created, like one.py, now you can see here it will execute it. Now you can see here executed. That means this Python file executed. But you might be thinking like it is not written anything. it's not returning anything because of we have not printed or anything, right? So if you executed this mean, so we are not trying to return anything here. So even if you look at here returning, but we are not calling it, right? So if you call them, it will be written. Let's see here. I'm just creating func of 8. Next, g of 7. Now you can see here. Now still if you observe, it's not returning anything. These are executed, but you are not tried, right? Try to return. Let's see here. I'm just printing them. Print of function 8. Similarly, if you try to print, this will be printed. Okay. So even if you want to print those values like name and all, you can also print of age also. Okay. Now you can see here each and every time whatever the action that you are trying to do, each and every time that's going to override. Okay. So we created this file having different functions and variables, and we are trying to printing all of them, right? So now if I execute this one, you can observe all this will be printed. Now you can see. So these all are printed like function of 8. That means it's going to return x square, right? So 8 square 64. Next one g of 7. This will return 7 times, right? So 7 into 7 49. So next one we are trying to print name. So you can see here Mahindra printed and also age is printed. So this is for only these all we can access inside of the file, that is 1.py. But let's see here, I'm going to access them outside of this particular file. Okay, so this is outside of it, right? So let's see here, I'm just using a, trying to return a. Now you can see it will be returning error. So name a is not defined. You can see here, you've defined it, right? But it is not taking because of this entire is ipynb file, that is notebook file. But in that you created another different file like .py extension file. This is a single Python file. Even if you observe here, currently we are in this file, right? And this file we created separately. Like this is Python file, this is notebook, this is different. Okay, so let's see here. Even if you try to access name also, you can see name is not defined. Even if you try to access age also, you can see, okay, age also, sorry, a is not defined. Okay, so that's why age and name, you can see here both also not returning, right? Because of this is different, this is different, right? We are executing this in outside of this notebook, right? I mean outside of this file. So let's see here, even if you try to access func of 7, now you can see still we are not getting, right? So similarly, even if you use g of something, still you can see here. So you cannot access them outside of this particular file. So how we can access them in another file? By importing them, right? So let's see here, we are going to create one more file. I'm going to create, okay, even if you want to like access inside this notebook also, first you have to, what you have to do, first you have to import one, right? So now you can see here. So whenever you imported, all these are printing function, right? So whenever you imported, all this file will be executed, right? So now you can see here, it's printing when you are trying to import. Let's see here, if I try to access here, now you can see what is the error. Even if you imported one, this is not returning anything because you need to ensure that we are going to use 1.a. You can see here, still we are not getting, right? So module 1 has new attribute because there is no a, right? So what is that? Age, right? So age, now you can see 8. So now even if you try to use 8, it will be returning. Okay, why it is not returning? So along, I mean you have to use 1.age, right? So along, I mean alone it won't work, right? So otherwise what you have to do, even if you try to use name also, the same thing, right? So now, okay, you imported a module. Now from module, like from 1, import star. That means you already imported this module in the same notebook, not in this file, in another, right? So there is no connection with this one and notebook, right? So now first we imported module, that is 1, and after that we are importing all this, like whatever we defined variables, functions in this file, like here. Now you can see imported. So now if you try to access age, now you can see we are getting it, right? So either here, if you have not defined like this, you have to mention. Now you can see here, if I use like this, because we already executed that one, so that's why we can able to access them. So now if you can see here name, because of we already imported, right? So let's create it from, you can see now I'm just clearing all or restarting it. Now you can see here I'm just clearing. Now you can see here we are just executing this one. So we have already one file is there, right? So it's getting overwritten. So after that we are executing it. Now you can see all printing is printing. Now if you observe, we are just accessing g of 7 from outside of this file, and you can see the error, g is not defined. And then now if you observe, we are importing that file, and you can able to see those printing functions are executing. Now if you execute age, you can able to see the error. So after alone importing, it won't work. So you have to call this one with help of module like 1.h. Now you can see h. So similarly 1.name, you can see 1.name. So similarly 1.g of 7, you can see, right? So 1 dot here also func of anything, you can see now. So you can also mention any other number also, right? So we defined function with square value, right? So now if you observe, you are just importing only module. If you are importing only module, you have to call, I mean, you can help to access all of them outside of any file other than this one with the help of the particular module, right? That is one, whatever the module name that you have given, right? Similarly, now along with this module, we are going to import all at a time. So let's see here. So we already imported this module by using import one. So now we are going to do from one import star. So that means star indicates whatever you defined in this file, all will be imported so that you can directly access them. Otherwise, you can, whatever you want, you can also import them. Now you can see we imported name and age. Now if I call name, it's going to return. Age also it's going to return. But if you use G of 7 now, that's going to return error. So why? We just imported only these variables. We have not imported G and func, right? So now we are going, okay, here you can use 1 dot G of 7. Now you can see you're getting, right? So likewise, now we are going to use G and FUNC. Now you can see we are accessing all. I mean, we are importing all whatever we defined. Now, so now you can see here it's also executed now without this one. You can see now. So without that reference of module also working. So similarly, FUNC of anything also work because you already imported whatever you defined from the module, right? So this is how you can do it. So now we are accessing this in IPYNB notebook form, right? So not in another file. So not in another module. So how we can create one more module? This is one module, and we are accessing them in a Python file. I mean, not Python file. This is IPYNB file. So this is also outside of this one. Now you can see here. This is 1.py. So there we defined all, and we are accessing those from another file. That is this file. Okay. So even if you want to create one more file, and you can also access it. Let's see here. Write file second. I'm just creating one more file, that is second.py. Now you can see here there is no second.py, right? I'm just creating it. Now in this we are going to define name1 equal to Mahi or age1 equal to something. Okay. And then we are going to define func1 of x equal to return x minus 29. Okay. Or else whatever you want you can define it. Okay. So next define g1 of y. Okay. Whatever variables you want, you can also define it. Okay. Now return h into 80. Okay. So we just defining. So now we are trying to print of age, normal age. This is not age one. This age is defined in another module, right? And we have not imported it, right? So print of name one. So even if you try to print these functions like whatever we defined here, print of func1 of 7, that's going to print 7 minus 28, right? Print of g1 of 72, that's going to print 72 into 80, right? So similarly, print of name1, it will be printed. Print of age1, it will be printed. So let's see here. So we created one more file, that is second.py, and there we defined all these functions and variables. Even if you want, you can also create classes. Okay. So now we are going to execute this file, that is Python. So what is that? Second.py. Now you can see here. So why it is returning error? Because so all this, whatever we define variables and I mean functions in this file, we can access it, but we cannot access age that we defined in another module. So how we can access them in another file? So by using import command. So how we can do that? We have to use import one, right? So one. So now if I execute this one, it's executed. After that, I mean overwritten. Now you can see here. So after this one, if you observe, so first it's going to execute this one, import one. So whatever we define here, I mean, this file will be executed, and in that we define all printing functions, right? So those were printed first. Even if you observe, these are from 1.py, and after that, so first one we are trying to print of func1 of 7. So this is printing this value, right? 7 minus 28, that is 21 minus 21. So after that, these values are printed. But if you observe, so age alone is not going to work because of we have just imported one. We have not used that one, right? So how we can do that? So either you have to use 1.age or 1.name. Otherwise, you have to import all of them, right? Now you can see it will be working. Now you can see it will return 88 and Mahindra is working, right? Similarly, you can access all of them, but we have not imported all whatever we defined. Therefore, you have to use module reference. Okay, and we can able to access those module details. I mean, whatever we define in this module one, we can able to access them in second module, right? That is second.py file. Okay, so similarly, even if you want to like import especially like all parameters like whatever you defined variables and function, you can just use from one, like from module name import star represents all whatever you define in that particular module. Okay, so now you can see even if you remove this one also it will work because we imported, right, those also. So now you can see it will be written, right? So this is how module will be created in Jupyter notebooks. So if you are working in any other IDEs, you can easily do it, right? Because those were directly Python file extensions. Okay, so this is how we can create modules and we can access the data that we create in one file in another file by using import command. Okay, I hope you understood. Thank you.